So you all seem really interested in the last video that I made about Ashley Barnes, whether it be in agreement or disagreement. So I thought I'd make this shorter video here where I go over her response to the alleged lawsuit that was filed, and also some critiques that were levied against me from my last video. Because there are some issues that I would really like to address. Before we get to this response though, just a heads up that I've heard the requests and we're on Spotify now. So you can go over and listen to my videos there if you'd like. They'll be uploaded on both platforms from now on. And there's a bunch of older ones there too if you're at all interested. And hey, maybe I'll be throwing over some bonus content on the Spotify as well, so stay tuned for that. Link is in the description, which by the way, it has been for the last like 12 videos. It was a soft launch. Wanted to see how many of you would check. Not a lot. Alright, so let's get to Ashley's response video.
Hi guys, it's Ashley Barnes. I'm about to go to class. It starts in like 15 minutes. But I just wanted to publicly apologize for the last 3 months of my life, and also just kind of the fact that I'm not the person that you guys followed when I started making content.
Okay, so off the bat, and the most obvious thing, like, of this whole video probably, this is not what people are angry at Ashley Barnes for. No one in the midst of this entire controversy of this whole situation has gone like, oh, rats, Ashley Barnes doesn't upload the same type of content that we enjoyed her so much for. You know, the stuff with all the things in the drawer in the hotel room and all those people that came over that were treated so horribly. That's like, yeah, that's bad, but the real issue here is that we're not getting the content of a 14-year-old talking about mental health. What a shame. She's now a 17-year-old that attempts essay on people. Bit of a downgrade in my opinion, entertainment-wise. Just to be clear, this video was uploaded I think one day before Bradley come out with his stories about Ashley. And that's important because this response here is mainly being talked about as though it was like a direct, chronologically after response to everything that went down, when in reality we've not really heard anything from her since everything went down, or the stories were revealed, so to speak. I think the only thing that she's done publicly since is turn off the comments on her TikTok page, which, I mean, it makes sense. And then she also allegedly filed a lawsuit against somebody, but we'll get to that later. So it seems pretty obvious when you take all that into account that this is like a preemptive attempt to save herself from the cancellation that she knows is coming, because from the text messages and everything that happened beforehand, and also just being involved in the whole story, she knows that this is going to become public knowledge very soon, and that her career is toast. Based on the way that Bradley was talking to her dad, which by the way, that dad is still one of the most perplexing parts of this story, because whenever you check TikTok, there's so many people who are like, oh, I feel so bad for Ashley Barnes' dad. He's just a sweet man and his daughter's done all this shit. It's like, no, he's like the one that I'm most confident in calling an awful person here. He is the reason that Ashley thinks that she can get away with all of this stuff. Like, he is completely enabling it. He even said something in the text messages like, oh, look, we all have dark sides. And when you say something like that in a situation like this, it's like, okay, well, what exactly do you mean by that? What's your dark side if this is like a normal thing for you? So she obviously knows that Bradley's going to come out with his story, or someone else, one of the people are going to come out with something about her. So she thought, ooh, if I make myself seem really sympathetic and victim-y before they come out with their stories, I can rush ahead, skip to the front of the queue, and I'll be all good. When they put their stories out, people are going to get on them for, you know, trying to cancel a mentally ill woman. She thinks that this video here will give her enough of a victim status to where she won't be, I guess, lambasted when the inevitable stories about her come out. Needless to say, it didn't work. If anything, the internet just took it, ran with it, and even lied about it to make it seem even worse for you. Although really thinking about it, I think that this coming before the stories, knowing that the stories are going to come out, isn't really any better than it coming afterwards as a direct response. Like, if you know the stories are coming, it kind of is a response in a way, just in a weird order. And even though she knows it's coming, she still can't address it because it's pretty indefensible. But she knows she has to say sorry, right? She knows the internet will not accept anything but a sorry, so she apologizes for some menial, meaningless bollocks that no one really gives a fuck about.
Some people have commented saying like, I miss like when she used to do this kind of content, I miss when she used to do this. And I was like, yeah, you know, you grow and you change. And I kind of gave up on talking about important topics and posting videos about the things that I'm passionate about, because people online, especially these kids, have gotten so mean. Like, tell me why I see so many people being like, bring back bullying, like all this stuff. What happened? What happened to the positivity? What happened to the caring for each other, building a community, mental health, like awareness?
Yeah, I mean, it's so transparent when she knows what's coming, because she's trying to foster a community of mindlessly positive zombies. So when this all comes out, she can pin it all and like, look, I just said that bullying is a real problem and that people won't stop doing it, and now look at the internet proving my point. Look at all these people, Bradley, Capri, all of them proving my bastard point just a day after I made it. Where's the positivity? Where's the love? I'll tell you where it's not. It's not in that fucking cupboard or that hotel room. It's probably also not in a lot of the families of these influencers who are, a lot of them probably being exploited by their parents. I mean, even in this one, it's nowhere near as, like, obvious or transparent as Piper, for example, but still, when you really deep it, it's like this lady, not even lady, this girl, 17 years old, has been a figure for ages, publicly, online, underage drinking, doing all this stuff, which fine, underage drinking is a thing that happens, but as a father, you know your daughter's online doing all this shit, and he's loving it. It gets the rent paid, fine, fuck it, do whatever you want online, collaborate with Sophie Rain, whatever, as long as it gets the rent paid, I guess. Let me find the video I'm talking about, actually. Yeah, look, here it is. Does anyone else feel really bad for Ashley Barnes' dad? He literally supported her through the whole social media thing just for it to blow up in his face. Ashley's actions were absolutely not right, and I'm sure he's aware, but I think he's just defending her because that's his daughter. And it's just a compilation of him with some, like, sad music in the background, and it's like, no, can we not infantilize and coddle this bloke as much as, like this? Because the comment section's on it as well. They don't seem to realize the blaring issues with having a bloke like this father a girl like Ashley. This guy is not free of innocence here. You've seen the fucking text messages. He defends her in a way that isn't even best for her. Because, like, if your daughter's doing shit like this and thinks it's okay, that is the point. In fact, you should have done this years ago, but especially now, you sit down with her and you say, look, this internet thing isn't for you. We're taking you off it. Get a fucking normal job. Be a normal 17-year-old for a bit, and hopefully, maybe, you'll, I don't know, grow as a person. Because these people, as much as 17-year-olds are children, these people don't act like, they don't even act like 17-year-olds. These people act like fucking 14-year-olds. They've not been able to grow and mature in the way that a normal child does because this internet thing has fucked their brains up. Which makes the collaborations with people in the bub house that much more disturbing, by the way.
Were we moving backwards? But it had gotten to the point where I was like, okay, whatever, I just need to get my videos in. And so I was just posting as bland as it could be, literally a dance, a lip sync, basic content, because it seems like it's so much easier to be consumed by the majority when it's not something that's hard to swallow, you know? But I just want to say I'm feeling pretty inspired, and I'm feeling like I'm gonna do a mix of what I've...
Literally no one gives a fuck about this. It's like, what you're describing as the content, oh, I just did a lip sync and a dance, that's literally your entire career and everyone in your space's entire career as well. None of you have done anything particularly innovative or you're not reinventing the wheel here. It's like if me as a commentary YouTuber acted as though I was changing the world or doing some profound shit. It's like, no, I know my place. I am the fucking Happy Meal. I am the Big Mac and fries of YouTube. You know, easy to consume, little bit of entertainment, people can watch me, learn something new maybe, or just sit down and be entertained for a bit, you know, take their mind off something. I think one of the worst things you can do as an influencer is have a big ego about you and think you're doing a lot more than you actually are. That's how you get yourself in trouble. I'm glad you're feeling inspired though. Nothing like a good rap attempt to get the inspiration juices flowing.
Also bring back some of those videos, and I don't care. Like, when I would post videos talking about mental health and stuff back when I was 14 and did not have followers, people loved it. They were like, oh my God, she feels so real. And then once I hit like 1 million, people were like, she doesn't understand struggles. I'm still the same person I was with or without followers. It's a number on my phone. It doesn't follow me around the second I turn it off. But this is really long to put on my story. I hope I can still put on my story. But what I wanted to say is that I'm sorry, and I think going through this recovery journey and finding myself again has really like made me realize that I don't want to just accept defeat. I don't want to be this person. I want to do more, and it's bringing my passion back, and I love you guys so much.
Wow, that is just so fucking inspiring, isn't it, guys? Jesus Christ. I'm sitting here, honestly, I'm tearing up a little bit. That was just incredible. I feel like I'm watching Nelson Mandela give an inspiring speech. Honestly, you could replace Winston Churchill with this lassie and they'd have won the war 2 years earlier. I know this isn't the issue here at all, but this is also just a load of fucking bollocks. Like, when you look at her TikTok account from the day this video was posted, it is all just the same shit. It's just lip sync videos and whatever the fuck she was doing. I'm not joking when I say the sole purpose of this video was just to victimize herself.
Oh, I did learn one thing. I learned that I don't need any stupid secret society. Cause I got you, dude.
Yeah, like, there's nothing special about these videos at all. If this is the thing that disturbs me so much, is that if they weren't as young as they were, they wouldn't be popular. They're popular because they're young. It's fucking weird. It's really creepy, genuinely. Obviously not because, I mean, I know the majority of the followers are also young people, and that's not creepy at all, but, you know, the fact that there's 2.5 million of them, it's like, they're not all children, and that's the creepy bit. Because it's not as though they're, like, really specialized in one subject. subject, right? They're not really good chess players. If they were a good chess player, for example, even though they're a child, it wouldn't be creepy that an adult is a fan of them because they admire the skill set in that specific sort of, I guess, genre, right? But here, there's none of that. It's like the only reason you would be a fan of them is if, I don't know how to phrase it exactly, but for an adult to be a fan, if you went to one of your pals at the pub and you asked them who their favorite fucking TikToker or YouTuber or influencer was, and they replied with Ashley Barnes or Piper Raquel, you'd fucking side-eye them and probably punch them in the bastard face. Anyway, now onto the alleged lawsuit that was filed against a creator by the name of Natalie Reynolds, which if you know that name, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll play the video that is getting them sued, once again, allegedly first.
This is a diss track on Ashley Barnes. Justice for everyone involved. Let's go.
Okay, sorry, I'll play the rest of it in a sec. You know what, I probably won't. We're not watching this whole fucking video because who needs to watch this video? None of us do. That first 6 seconds tells you everything you need to know about this person as a person. Someone who's completely uninvolved in this situation, had nothing to fucking do with it, feels the need to come on camera and do a diss track on a lady who attempted to rape her friends like it's fucking High School Musical. Like, this is not how dramas get sorted on the internet, pal. At least real ones. Also, don't give me justice to the victims as though you actually give a fuck. You're sat there smiling about to do a diss track on the girl. This is not what people do when they actually care. For those who don't know, yeah, this is the famous girl that convinced a homeless woman to jump off the pier into the river, and then when they started drowning, she just fucking walked off and, let them drown. Luckily, they survived, but it could have been real bad. That's her claim to fame, by the way. That's what she's most famous for. And also being a horrific plagiarist. Every piece of content on her platform is stolen. She's less deserving of fame than fucking Ashley Barnes is, honestly. Anyway, let's listen to the diss track, but we'll only listen to it until it's shit, and then we'll stop. Alright, we'll stop there. But anyway, this video was so damning and damaged Ashley Barnes' reputation so much that they felt the need to actually file a lawsuit against her. Hot damn. So let's hear that video where it's announced, shall we?
Get ready with me while I talk about why I'm being sued by Ashley Barnes. Basically, if you guys don't know, I made a diss track on Ashley, clocking her.
We've also left a lovely comment here. Who do you like better, me or Ashley Barnes? Fucking hell of a comment, that. Imagine if I commented something like that on one of my videos. It's just so horrendously, it just shows like the motivation here, which is finally someone that I can fucking criticize for being a horrible person. Maybe I can deflect some of the attention away from my wrongdoings for a second here.
I am being sued by Ashley Barnes and her family. I have received a cease and desist and am now being accused of defaming Ashley Barnes after making a diss track, and now they're requesting for me to take down all the videos about her. I would like to say I am so sorry, Ashley Barnes, for absolutely nothing.
Oh, she thinks she fucking ate there. She thinks she's clocked the fuck out of her with that right there. Mate, she thinks she's fucking Conor McGregor. First of all, you don't want to be Conor McGregor. But like, she really did that. She really thought that'd be like a quote there that we could all fucking hammer on about. Like, oh, do you remember when Natalie Reynolds did that fucking sick burn in her newest TikTok where she went, oh, Ashley, I'm so sorry. And I was there like, oh my God, she apologized. But then she switched it up with the genius for nothing. And I was sat there clapping like, oh, Natalie Reynolds, you fucking genius. Delete your TikTok and never come back. You are my least favorite content creator. She's my age as well, born in the same year, 2003. I honestly don't know how to fucking feel about that, by the way. On one hand, it makes me feel a little better, but then on the other hand, it's like, well, this is like my peer. This is the same generation as me. Is this what I'm seen as? Is this how people see my gen?
I'll be taking down the videos of you. Your bad actions have consequences, and if your dad wants to take me to court, let's do it. Justice to everyone involved in this situation, and oh, by the way, your gummies and toys aren't allowed in the courtroom, so leave it at your house.
They probably would be allowed in the courtroom, actually, for evidence. So, sort of flop that one there, to be fair. I mean, I get it was like a sick burn in that. It was like really cool, and mate, I'm fucking coming just on how cool that video was, but like, they probably would be allowed. If this did go to court, they probably would, actually. But anyway, as I'm sure you can tell from my tone, I don't actually think that they received a cease and desist. With all the people that have come out with stories about this whole thing, it's like for them to have not received cease and desist, for them to fucking target Natalie Reynolds of all people who no one fucking likes or believes in the first place is complete bogwash. It's just made up for attention. This is her trying to make herself seem like a victim now as well. A victim of the horrific legal system that she's being fucking pounded into by rich influencers and their fathers. It's like just a pathetic rally for support over something she's completely made up. Also, if all actions truly did have consequences, then you would be in fucking jail right now for attempted murder and abandonment. Natalie Reynolds. Okay, now I wanted to address the victim blamey claims that I was being sent over in my last video. A lot of people were accusing me of victim blaming in this situation, and I respectfully really disagree with people who are throwing that accusation around. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do see how people come to that conclusion, but I just don't think that it's the correct conclusion to come to. And I would also harbor to say that people who think that I'm really out to victim blame people involved in this situation aren't actually listening to what I was saying. Now, I'll read my pinned comment first before we move on, but I will address like specific comments as well that got a lot of attention. Just wanted to clarify that I wasn't critiquing these guys for not having left or doing anything differently. I was simply pointing out, as a point of safety, if you feel as though you're in a dangerous situation, you should leave as soon as you possibly can, which is undeniably true. I mentioned in the video that these people are so young and that I don't blame them for acting in the manner in which they did, partially because of that. But it's still important advice to give to people who may be watching that are of a similar age. If you still consider that to be victim blaming, then let me know why exactly, and hopefully I can clear up any confusion. Now, a lot of people did still think that I was victim blaming, like this commenter, for example, who replied with, "This is the problem. You absolutely could leave. What a disgusting thing to come out of your mouth. Come on, be better. In many situations, you can't just up and leave." So first of all, I need to point out that this commenter here does not know how quotation marks work, because they put quote marks over a quote that doesn't exist. I never said those words in the video. Like I said in the comments that they are literally responding to, I do not blame any of them for not having left. So clearly, they either just didn't read or just don't want to listen to me. But then here's the thing that really bothered me, is that yes, they could have left. That doesn't mean it's their fault for not leaving, but they could have left. And if they are in a situation like this in the future, hopefully they do leave. Because why would you want them to be in a situation that is potentially dangerous or has something horrible that happened to them? When I say things like, if you're in a situation where you feel as though you're in danger, you should leave, I understand that in all situations you can't just leave. But if you can, you should. It's like this. Okay, so what I'm being accused of as victim blaming, it's as though if I said something along the lines of, don't take a drink from a stranger, right? That does not mean I'm blaming people who have done that in the past and had something horrible happen to them. It's not your fault if you took a drink from a stranger and something horrible happened to you. But that does not mean that me saying don't take a drink from a stranger is victim blaming all the victims who have done such a thing. It's just a piece of advice for people who find themselves in a situation where that potentially could happen. Do you want me to spread the idea that leaving just isn't an option? What kind of message does that send to people who might find themselves in situations like this? They can't leave? It's like, no, you can, and you need to remember that you can. It's the kind of shit that saves people's fucking lives, man. I don't think you realize how dangerous this idea that you're spreading is. I feel like it's kind of dangerous to say, well, if you feel like that, then leave. No, that's the opposite of dangerous, actually. A lot of victims are told that, and you don't know how you'll respond in those situations until you're in it. That's absolutely true. And I never disagreed with that. In fact, I wholeheartedly agree, which is why I don't blame them for staying. I don't think they did anything wrong. And I never blamed them for anything in the original video at any point either. The issue is that genuine victim blamers do use a lot of language like, oh, well, why were you wearing this? Why didn't you just leave? You could have done this, you could have done that. And I understand that a lot of the words I used are similar to the words that genuine victim blamers use. But when you listen to the actual message that I'm trying to send here, and the actual sentences I'm saying, I'm not victim blaming. I really do feel as though I made that as clear as I possibly could in the video. It's way easier said than done, and saying that can just belittle a victim or downplay the situation. But then here's the thing, with this commenter in particular, they responded to their own comment with this. To follow up to, yes, I feel like it's very important to let victims know they can leave and hopefully reach out to support groups, friends, loved ones, etc. for support. Which is exactly what I was doing, so I have no idea what their problem is with me. It feels like a lot of the people who criticize me are almost implying that you can't let victims know they have the ability to leave without victim blaming. And they said that my cadence in the video wasn't the same, it just seemed to take away from Ashley's disgusting behavior and came off pretty victim blaming. So the issue was my cadence, maybe the way I said it, which, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I'm sorry you feel that way, I guess. For anyone in similar situations, even if you do not dare to physically leave, usually you are carrying a phone, send someone a text, let someone know, reach out, a friend, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, anyone. They might be able to reach you and do something. I know freeze responses are a thing, I'm well aware, but if you can, please, please, please reach out. That's very good advice, I'm sure we can all agree, but according to a lot of the logic from the commenters who are criticizing me, this piece of advice here is victim blaming. What this person is doing, according to their logic, is blaming the victims of the situation for not having sent a text to anyone. When in reality, no, it's just a piece of advice for anyone who might find themselves in this situation in the future. The exact same thing I was doing. It is still victim blaming to scream, why didn't you leave when you could possibly be raped, by the way. That is victim blaming, which is why I never fucking said it. I don't not understand why people think it's acceptable to just make shit up and put words in my mouth. I never said, why didn't you leave? I know why they didn't leave. Well, I don't know specifically, but there are a number of reasons why they couldn't have left. Maybe they were fucking terrified. Maybe they froze, which was a completely normal response. Literally, all I said was, if you are in a dangerous situation that you have the ability to leave in, you should probably leave as soon as possible. I seriously just don't know how anybody can have an issue with that advice. If you can leave, leave. If you can't or don't, it's not your fault, and I'm not blaming you. Maybe I really am just incredibly ignorant, but I seriously don't understand how that's victim blaming. Well, he didn't say it in a mature way, criticizing the kids for not being mature while deliberately downplaying what they went through because someone could have helped them. I didn't downplay fucking anything that happened. I don't know what this person's talking about. I also, once again, I sound like a fucking broken record here, didn't criticize the children for how they acted in those situations at all. All I said was that in situations like the ones they were in, there are specific actions that can be taken to ensure your safety to the best that you can. What's he think's gonna happen? They're gonna take his advice, go back in time and help them? No, it already happened and his advice is unsound, so he should just pipe down, listen and explain the situation, not whatever the fuck he was doing. Okay, so you're not allowed to give advice to fucking anyone because they can't go back in time to the situation and change things. Obviously, you can't go fucking back in time, but you can find yourself in similar situations in the future and hopefully you've learned from the first one. Also, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm a commentary channel. My job is to commentate on the situations. If you want the story, if you want an explanation of what happened, then just watch the fucking videos. If you want my commentary, then watch me. There's also that one part in the video where Ashley paid those two girls to give her a kiss in the back of the car that people had a problem with how I spoke about. I don't think this is a good take. I personally don't agree with it. Giving someone money to do something they otherwise wouldn't do is coercion, is it not? Yeah, so for those who don't remember, the two girls were saying that they were forced to give Ashley a kiss because she was paying them and getting upset that they wouldn't do it. To which my response was, once again, I don't blame them for having done so because they were uncomfortable and felt as though they had to do it, which is a totally fine and valid response to being treated like that. But you aren't forced to do anything. You have the ability to say no, and for viewers who might find themselves in a similar situation, just remember, you can say no. To call that victim blaming and say that I'm not allowed to say it implies that I need to sit there and say to my audience, yeah, if you're in a situation like that where someone's paying you and getting upset that you won't kiss them, you have to kiss them. You have no other choice. Because anything I say that goes against that is victim blaming, apparently. I don't think it'd be consensual if a man kept badgering a woman for sex until she finally gives in, so why isn't it the same when Ashley does it? I never said it was consensual. Ever. See, this is what I mean. People are I don't know what by the way, I need to make this clear as well, because I know I'm wilding out right now. This is like to 1% of the one, but this is like such a vocal minority here. The majority of people who watched the video completely understood what I was trying to say, and to those, I appreciate you. I'm just talking but I got more of a negative response than usual, and I feel as though I do owe it to my audience to actually respond to this shit, because I always say, hold me accountable, tell me if I'm being ignorant, and if I really do, you know, if I read this shit and thought I really did fuck up, then I'd be willing to admit that, but I just don't agree with the criticism I'm getting here. I don't think I was victim blaming. Could I maybe have phrased myself better? Fine, I'm willing to admit or, you know, concede that, but I just don't accept that I was victim blaming. I'm sorry. Babe, anytime a victim talks up about SA, this pig always shifts the blame onto her. Won't catch me in any shade of shock when it turns out he's an abuser. So this person clearly has an issue with the way that I speak about topics on this channel. I don't know why they're watching this video then. Do they just watch me to get annoyed and disagree with me and get angry? And they go and call me an abuser, which is just a really mature thing to do, I guess. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a fucking person's on the internet called me an abuser, so I guess I'm used to it. I hope your intent to actually listen is true, because I'm not loving the comments other people are making, dismissing all criticism as being like crazy or overreacting. I don't think you are victim blaming. I think you just use careless phrasing. Fair enough if you think that, I can totally respect that. And I don't think people are being hysterical to feel uncomfortable, but I do think it's unreasonable to assume ill intent from you. You know what? I totally respect that. I think of all the criticisms, this is totally reasonable. I could have phrased myself better. I could have made it clear. I think I made myself pretty clear though. Like if you're actually listening, if you have me on in the background and you're not really listening, I understand how you might come to the conclusion that I'm victim blaming, but if you're actually listening to me, I don't know how you can come to that conclusion. I felt the whole, he's a strong guy, he could have overpowered her, to be quite ignorant. Plenty of bodybuilders get assaulted by petite women for a litany of reasons. I never said that he wouldn't be assaulted or that that's not possible because he's a big strong guy. I never said that. I said that luckily, because there were so many people in the room and Ashley was just one small girl, that in all likelihood she would not be able to overpower everybody in that room and assault all of them or assault anybody. anybody, which was a point I was making to show that luckily they weren't in as much danger as they could have been if it was maybe one-on-one. Maybe I could have phrased it better, but once again, I don't see how that's a particularly controversial thing to say. What's she gonna do? Fucking beat all of them up? I don't like the insinuation that because Ashley's a girl, that the guys in the room shouldn't have let this happen, right? And I think my response here says it way better than I just did now. I'm not saying that they should have, but that they could have. So if Ashley were to start physically attacking them, she wouldn't have been able to overpower everyone in that room. I wasn't critiquing them for having done or not having done anything, just trying to assess the threat level of the situation is all. Hope that makes sense. There was also this comment here, which I really fucking appreciated actually, because it's someone who clearly was listening to what I was saying. They bring up the two parts that could have been interpreted as victim blaming, which I feel like were the parts that most people were taking and interpreting as victim blaming, which was when I said you did have a choice and you should have said no about the two people who were asked or pressured to kiss her, and then when I said, you see, that's when you leave, or that's when you realize if I feel this way, I'm not going to stay here, in relation to Brad's vids. But even then, there's important context. You were very situation specific. At no point did you generalize or suggest that all victims should just leave or just say no. You immediately clarified in numerous instances that you didn't mean to victim blame. The way you phrase things came across as advice, not blame. Saying leave as soon as you possibly can is different to saying you should have just left. That bit there is so fucking important if you're actually listening to what I'm saying, by the way. I never said they should have just left. All I said was leave as soon as you possibly can. You consistently acknowledge that the people involved were kids and their actions may have been shaped by a lack of maturity or understanding, while still clarifying that age does not automatically equal knowledge. Look, I understand that I'm biased here reading this comment because I am the fucking person who made the original statements. And once again, feel free to comment under this video if you still believe I said something wrong or maybe I'm making a mistake right now. And I'm also very sorry for getting more heated than I originally was planning to. Like, I was hoping that I could just sit here and talk about this normally in a calm tone, but unfortunately, I am getting a little heated because I don't like being labeled as something that I'm not, especially when it's something as serious as a victim blamer. I mean, I hope you can understand where the confusion and annoyance comes from, especially because in that original recording, I feel as though I was quite careful. Like, in the back of my head, I was carefully thinking, what do I say here to give advice in a way that is, I guess, sustainable and efficient, but also not victim blaming. But it seems though no one actually paid attention to the effort that I put. I say no one, I shouldn't say that at all, because most people did. It's just a very vocal minority of people that, in my opinion, weren't properly listening to me. Here's another comment from someone that really did understand what I was doing. Those saying this is victim blaming are so incredibly out of touch. This is not okay, let me say that first. However, there is a huge difference between something like unfairly pressuring people into something and physically forcing something. For instance, it's pretty gross that the two girls said they kissed because they didn't have a choice, when there are people who have truly had that choice violently taken away from them. I don't think that it is gross the girls said they didn't have a choice. I don't. I think it was just a misphrasing on their part. Possibly like how I misphrased my statements as well. And you know, like I said in the video, they're fucking children, so I don't blame them for using that terminology or going ahead with the kiss. I don't blame them at all. I don't think it is gross. I just disagree. We felt pressured and it was very uncomfortable is fine, and that's totally shitty and makes their point just fine. I agree completely on that one. We felt pressured and it was very uncomfortable is a totally valid thing to say, and no one can blame you for doing such a thing, which is why I didn't. But there is a difference, and pointing out something like how they had a choice is important. So is saying something like if you feel like something weird is happening, it's best to get out of the situation. What would you do? Not say it? So someone sees this video, ends up in a similar situation, and literally no one ever said you should run if you see red flags. I mean, that is the sort of thing that people who are calling me victim blamey are unironically advocating for. You're not allowed to say if you see red flags, you should run, because apparently saying that victim blames everybody who didn't run. You're not allowed to tell your children or anyone that you care about not to take a drink from a stranger, because if you do, you're victim blaming everybody who has been spiked and took a drink from a stranger. It's not how the world fucking works. You do need to say these things, and you can say them whilst also calling out the unacceptable behavior for what it is, exactly like Dankyjabo did here profusely. I feel like the people saying this are teenagers themselves or have lived a blissfully sheltered life. I don't know about that end bit there. I feel like the people who are saying it just didn't listen to what I was saying. They could be of any age, be in any part of their life, have any history, it's whatever. As long as you're actually listening, I feel as though it's pretty easy to realize that my intentions were good and that I wasn't blaming any of the victims for any of their behavior. But I think that's where we'll end the video. Once again, feel free to hold me accountable or tell me if you think that I got something wrong. Sorry for getting heated. Again, I know it makes me seem a little bit unhinged, but I'm passionate about this shit, man. People are making a lot of assumptions and making a lot of things up, and without getting too personal, I have a lot of reason to be passionate about this shit. So when people throw accusations like victim blamer at me and it actually seems to gain some traction, and I know that I'm not a victim blamer, and I know that I didn't do that, yeah, it annoys me a little bit, but whatever. Big up to the majority of you who watched the video, like the 99% of you who watched and understood and enjoyed it. Same thing with this video here. And for the people who didn't enjoy or didn't understand what I was saying, or genuinely do believe I'm victim blaming, hopefully I cleared some confusion up. Once again, sorry for getting angry. It's not personally directed towards anybody. Also, just a reminder that these videos are up on Spotify now, and I will catch you on the next one. So, yeah. Bye.